Namaskar, Sat Sri Akal, welcome and adab. You are listening to Bharat FM, a one-of-its-kind, multilingual, eclectic provider of entertainment, information and news to Indian Americans. Headquartered in Cincinnati, Ohio, Bharat FM airs shows out of Cincinnati, Chicago and Phoenix. We take pleasure in our ability to cater to your bhakti, chusti, sphurti, shakti and masti needs with our audio and visual shows. Check out bharatfm.com for our online program schedule and archives. I'm sure the content will definitely tickle your senses. Tune in via the 24-hour web streaming on bharatfm.com or via the Bharat FM app. More information can be procured at 513-488-5070.
This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत.
Namaste, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all our viewers from around the world. Welcome to another episode of Decoding Victory. Today is indeed a special episode. We have just completed our 1-year milestone of Decoding Victory and me hosting at Bharat FM. So it gives me great pleasure to host once again an excellent episode of Decoding Victory with our guests of honor, Pandit Shubhendra Rao and his very talented wife, Vidushi Mrs. Saskia Rao. So please join me in welcoming Pandit Rao and Vidushi Mrs. Rao over to our program. Namaste. How are you doing?
Very good, thank you. Lovely being here with you and to be able to speak to your wonderful audience.
Thank you so much. How are you doing, Mrs. Saskia?
Indeed, pleasure to be here from Delhi, where it is pretty cold.
Yes, yes. I hope you're staying warm and staying healthy.
We are, thank you.
That's great. It is fabulous to see you. We appreciate you taking your time to be on our program. I know how busy you can be. So really very thankful for you to be joining us today.
No, we are very, very happy to be here. And yes, extremely busy, but, because of the corona and the pandemic and all, things have slowed down in general. But then now all is well, picking up, and lovely being with all of you.
That's great. Good to hear. And your reputation does precede you. As soon as we made an announcement about this program, we got so many messages from your fans, from your admirers, from people that know you, and we have been thrilled. We were looking forward to hosting you. We did hear that you had a tour of Ohio before, and so especially from where we are having this program, which is the Cincinnati area, there are a lot of your admirers.
Oh, wonderful.
No, we have even our last concert tour of the US, which was just before the pandemic. So it was in November 2019. And our last concert actually of that tour was in Cincinnati.
Correct.
And we have just great memories there. There's doing such amazing work there as well, promoting Indian music and dance and culture. Really fabulous to see that also.
So nice to hear that from you. And a big shout out goes to the Jankar team, which reached out to us, remembering that they had a wonderful time with both of you and they give their love to you. So they are also watching us today.
Wonderful. And, pleasure to have met them, to have performed for Jankar and developed a very deep friendship with so many of them. It's very, very special.
That's great. That's great to hear. So before we begin our conversation to learn more about your life journey, if you don't mind, I would just like to take a few minutes to introduce you formally to our audience members. As I mentioned, most of them already know you, but it is really good to specify a few things. So
absolutely.
Thank you. So, as we know, guests, friends, we have our guest today, Pandit Shubhendra Rao-ji, and he is an internationally acclaimed performer, composer, cultural entrepreneur, and music educator. A protege of Bharat Ratna Pandit Ravi Shankar, he established himself as a cultural bridge to many cultures, and not only as a master of his instrument, but a thinking musician, carrying his instrument beyond conventional boundaries, performing at major concert halls and music festivals all over the world. Both Pandit Rao and Mrs. Saskia Rao have performed their concerts at Kennedy Center in DC, Chicago Symphony, in Spain, Rashtrapathi Bhavan, and other prestigious venues. Now, Vidushi Saskia Rao-de Haas, I hope I'm saying the name well properly. She's a world renowned virtuoso cellist, composer, cultural entrepreneur, and educationalist from the Netherlands. She was trained as the Western cellist from a young age onwards, but changed direction when she came in touch with Indian music in 1993. She is known as a master performer of Indian classical music and is hailed as the creator of a new instrument, the Indian cello. Flute Maestro Pandit Hariprasad Chaurasia speaks of his disciple Saskia as someone who has been taught by God. According to him, everybody should listen to her music. This is wonderful. I mean, you had the top gurus of the world. How blessed do you feel that you were able to get this opportunity to train under them, to stay with them, to tour with them?
No, every day we count our blessings. Every day we feel so honored and blessed that these maestros have guided us in our journey, not just as musicians, but as people and as human beings in our lives. And that is the perfect example of the guru and the shishya.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, words don't describe that kind of gratitude. And yeah, so much more than a teacher, a mentor, a guru. And even though your guru is no longer with us, I think the guru is always with you. You even at times dream
Yeah.
of classes and next morning talk about a new composition you have learned in your dream. So that is the power of that relation. It's really, yeah.
That's amazing. I'm so glad we started our conversation with this. Definitely, as we believe in India, Guru is
Mhm.
God, Guru is everything. So I think just talking about Guru makes gives us this more powerful vibes here during our conversation. So that's one.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing that. So we would like to just start off by asking you, Pandit Rao, that I believe you are from a family of musicians. So
Right.
would you like to share a little bit more about that with our audience? And what are your earliest memories of playing music?
Yeah, my both my parents are. My father was one of the senior most and the earliest disciples of Pandit Ravi Shankar, and my mother was a very good veena player, Saraswati veena. And at home we had both Carnatic and Hindustani music, but somewhere I think the uh, paternal influence was stronger in my upbringing. So, but at the same time, I strongly believe that my musicality comes from my mother a lot more because she's a very musical being. Then, growing up with both Hindustani and Carnatic, seeing my mother play the Saraswati Veena, as we know in Carnatic music, it's held on the floor. It's kept on the floor, and people play it that way. So, according to my mother, I was singing before I was talking. I could sing, and I could, so somewhere in that journey, I could not lift the sitar into the position that I had to hold it because I was too small. but I could still take the sitar and play it like a Carnatic veena. So it was a perfect, coming together of two traditions in that way, South and North. But at a certain time, when I think the earliest memory that I have is when I was about 3.5, and my father's guru, that is Pandit Ravi Shankar ji, who would always come to Bangalore for his concerts, and at least once a year or twice a year, would make it a point to come home to see my grandmother. So during one of those visits, we had Pandit Ravi Shankar ji, we had Ustad Allah Rakha ji, and Guruji's son Shubhendra Shankar, after whom I'm actually named also. They had come home, and my enthusiastic father asked me to play for him. So I kept the sitar on the floor like a South Indian veena, and played a sargam that I had learned in Yemen. So as a 3.5-year-old, that was perhaps impressed Guruji a lot. And he said, I think, now you should lift the sitar and keep it in its original position. So perhaps that is indeed one of the earliest memories of my life. So that started off the journey, and the journey continues.
That's so fascinating. Amazing to hear how it all began. And looks like you had a very good role model in your family, multiple role models actually,
Yes.
in both your
Yes.
parents. That's
Yeah.
good to hear.
Yes.
Mrs. Saskia,
Yeah.
how did your foray into music begin?
I grew up in Holland, in the Dutch countryside, with a view over the fields, with a few windmills and a few cows thrown in. Everyone played music. It was not a question if you played an instrument, but what instrument. We had family gatherings where we would all play in our family kind of orchestra with uncles, aunts, cousins, everyone. So that I would play the cello was my choice, because my grandfather also played the cello very well, actually. Not professionally, that was more my aunts and uncles and cousins. He was an engineer who was really steeped in that European classical music tradition. So that was my background. There was a lot of Western classical music, going every Sunday to the symphony orchestra in Amsterdam, and playing the cello. So I started when I was about 7. And an interesting memory I have is when I was learning from a really famous cellist at that time, who was the solo cellist of the Concertgebouw in Amsterdam. And he lived in the same community as a village as I lived in Holland. And he accepted me as his student, but he would always play everything before. I would copy him. I thought I was playing whatever notation was there. But after, I think, 1.5, 2 years, they found out I didn't read one single note. I had just played everything by ear. So I think in a way that was an early memory of me, but also a connection with an oral tradition, which I think in a way was my start. Not meant to be at all, but in Indian music and learning by ear from my teacher. So that was my early memory.
That's amazing. That's amazing. It just seems to me like both of you were born gifted, besides having those kind of influences around you. I think not everybody can pick the same kind of musical talent, if they can do it that early at least. So just hearing that, it's wonderful to just listen to your story. It's very inspiring, very interesting for us.
Thank you. Indeed, the families have brought what are, we are blessed to be in these families to be where we are today.
True.
Yeah. Right. That's great.
Plus, musicality, a parent's role is really, really very big in the discipline of practice and all of that.
True,
Yeah.
true. Here, all parents out there in the audience members, we all
But
have who have young kids at home. I think we have a
Let's come back to that. We have more
we have a lot more of
more
that.
tips where that comes from, but
That's great. Yes, we'll come
it's
back
a
to that.
different hat.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
And Mrs. Saskia, I'm not sure whether you're familiar, but here in Michigan, we do have a place called Holland. It's got
Yes.
beautiful tulip festival every year. So people from near and far visit Holland, and it's beautiful windmills and tulip fields. And just when you're describing, I was picturing. So that's
Yes.
great. So next time we would like to host you here again, and you can tell us more about Holland. All right. So now I believe it would be great if we can just maybe watch Pandit Rao and Mrs. Saskia Rao in action. Thank you for sharing a few videos with us that we could share with our audience members. So if you don't mind, we'll just take a few moments and we would like to share one of the videos.
Lovely.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. This is the Shubhendra Saskia Rao Foundation, so we're going straight to music education. That's good. Right?
That was wonderful, but I believe there was a little bit of audio problem. I was getting some messages saying that folks could not hear the audio. So we will try it again next time
Okay. Yeah.
in a little bit. If not, I would like to let the audience members know that the YouTube channel is called East Marries West. And that is my next question. So I would like to know, so they do say that music has a power to bring hearts together. So is that what happened in your case? How did you, so did music bring you together? Did you just watch each other play before you met? Or would you like to share a little bit about your story?
Yeah, sure. No, And we met first in '93 when I came to India as a student. And we connected through music. Shubhendra was already a big upcoming sitar star in India, playing with his guru everywhere and all over the world, actually, from the Kremlin, Russia, everywhere. And I was this Dutch student. I had played a lot of Western music, youth orchestra, this, that. But Indian music was completely a new world. And of course, musically, completely bowled over. And slowly we got to know each other as people as well. And then I think in '99 we found that we really have a life together in India. In India, yeah. So music definitely did bring us together as well.
That's great. Would you like to add anything, Pandit Rao?
No, no. I mean, it's been a beautiful journey because, like Saskia said, music brought us together. The initial few years, there was a lot of mutual respect towards the passion that both of us had for music, and we were in our own directions. We were in our own stage of our lives, and until Saskia came to India again back, she used to come every year, almost every year. Or I used to do a lot of KLM traveling those days. So maybe, take a day off in Amsterdam, spend a day with Saskia because of mutual respect that we had. Uh, and that respect turned to love later on. And we saw that, yes, we had a life together, coming together of two cultures, two people, two families, and bringing together more than just. So that's why it's called East marries West.
Correct. That is perfect. You are both made for each other. And in your marriage, I think as a culture, as a country, we are getting more out of it as well. We heard about how you've invented the Indian cello, and that's fascinating. So it's a new instrument that musicians, that kids, children who are interested in instruments can pick and learn. So that's great. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So we will just give it one more try, if you don't mind,
Okay,
Pandit Rao
lovely.
and Mrs. Saskia, because the music was beautiful. I enjoyed it. I'm so sad that our audience members did not get to. So we're going to try it just one more time.
Lovely. No, no, beginning. But even we are not able to hear, right?
I don't know if that makes it. I hope everyone could hear it this time. I think you're on mute.
Yes, sorry about that. I hope they did hear. If not, we are terribly sorry. I'm not sure what happened. I've been trying to share the audio from here, but we
Mhm.
will continue. We have a couple more videos. If you could not hear again, apologize, but please do subscribe to East Mary's West YouTube channel, and there are many more videos there, so you can watch and listen to the beautiful music created by this supremely talented duo.
Thank you.
So, so we will continue our conversation here with Pandit Maestro Shubhendra Rao and Vidushi Maestro Saskia Rao as well. So, my next question really is, as we had spoken earlier, you had the privilege of learning from the best gurus. So, Pandit Rao, you were, I believe, blessed to even live with him for a few years as in a traditional
Many.
Guru Shishya
Yeah,
parampara, many years. Is that right? So,
yeah.
yeah, so we are interested to know from you what side of Pandit Ravi Shankar did you admire the most? Would you like to share anything about the maestro with our audience that perhaps is not known much?
No, for sure. I mean, my direct lessons from him started when I was 7. Uh, in the first few years, of course, it used to be once or twice a year. Then, because he was very busy in those days, traveling around the world, then the next phase of my learning from him came when I was in my early teens, and whenever he had anything between a few days off, in those days, for Pandit Ravi Shankar to be in one city for 5 or 6 or 7 days was pretty difficult because he was traveling and touring and performing all the time. So if ever whether he used to be in Bombay when he was composing for Gandhi, or when he was in Delhi or in Pune or in any of these cities where he was spending more than 3 4 days time, he would ask me to come over, and we used to have intense sessions. I remember, when he was composing for Gandhi, the time was like, he was in Bombay, and he was there for almost 2 weeks. So every morning from 10 till 1 o'clock in the morning, till 10 till 1, he would teach me. It was just him and me, two of us. And then around 3 o'clock, then go to the studio where he would work with the musicians. And that was for the film Gandhi. So the next phase for my learning came when I was about 18, and he called me up and asked me to shift to Delhi. This was in 1984, when I was 18 plus, and he at that time he was looking to set up a kind of a gurukul with just very few students. So initially it was just two of us, one wonderful sarod player and me, whom we started living in that house. He would travel around, but we were the resident disciples, the shishya. And those years, 10, about almost 8 to 9 years, was really like the churning period for me, where I was able to immerse myself completely into learning, into practicing, into imbibing. And the learning would be, sometimes on stage, of course, or sometimes helping him in his compositional works, or it could be, suddenly at 2 o'clock in the morning he was in a mood to teach. So it would be that real guru shishya relation, which is perhaps one of the most beautiful relationships in one's life. I was blessed to have gone through that intense period. And after that, of course, I took his blessings before going on stage. It was with his permission. That's how the tradition goes, where you seek the permission, or the guru gives you the permission to go on stage, guides you, takes you on stage initially together with him, and then lets you loose. So for the first few years that I started performing, every time I would take his permission, and he would say yes. And finally, after 3-4 years of performing in this way, then he said, now I think you're at the stage where you need to go completely free. But those 8 to 9 years, I think 84 till about 1993, was one of the most beautiful and intense periods of learning, practicing, imbibing, and living that true relationship. And where it comes to him, or not something that the world doesn't know, I think he is one of the most written about musicians too, and celebrated across the world. But if I have to bring down and talk about one thing that, apart from all the other great qualities as a guru that he had and as a musician that he had, that the world knows, the one thing that really, of course, for me was very, very, very beautiful was his humility. A person who had reached those heights, had attained those heights, if a newcomer came and met him, he or she would not really get to know that they were meeting the great Pandit Ravi Shankar. No airs, no throwing his whatever. It was always, he was very humble, and humble towards his music, towards his guru, towards who he was. And that humility is unparalleled as far as I'm concerned.
Yet when he would be in a room, he would fill it. So not with loudness, but with a quiet, humble, just presence.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wonderful to hear, and that is what I think we see from those who are very, very accomplished. That humility is such a virtue. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, for me, the same. That is the one thing I think that stood out from my Guruji as well. In the service of music, day and night, breathing music, being with his instrument always. I remember, that happened a few times actually, when I was studying at the conservatory, where he was heading the entire world music department. So that's a wonderful Western conservatoire where they teach Indian classical music. Really amazing, that opportunity. So I got that opportunity to practice and go deep because that was there. So what he did, he was always playing his music. So when I would come to the conservatory, I would always come about an hour and a half early, so I could have a good chance to warm up for a class with the Maestro. I wanted to always be very well prepared. But multiple times what would happen is the conservatory would be still empty. No one would be there. It was about 8 in the morning. And these empty hallways, and in midst of Rotterdam, the Dutch city, I could hear the sounds of the bansuri. He was already there practicing. And that kind of dedication towards music, I think that is such an example for young musicians, that it really, really helps you in every single way. You don't only learn the music itself, you learn how to live your music.
Yeah, if we continue to talk about our gurus, I think we can continue to talk for the rest of the, not just this 1 hour, but, for days and weeks and months and years together.
Right. I see so much deep reverence that you both have for your gurus. And I have a very small way of connecting to the huge experience that you've had, being a yoga teacher myself, and having learned yoga from my parents, having being raised by them and watching them, and especially my father, who is 86 and he's still teaching yoga. And
Fantastic.
so, as you were saying here, I was able to relate small things that I've had experience myself about how he lives and breathes yoga. So just
Yeah.
similar to what you said about music, doesn't matter how many people are there to watch or listen or learn from you. That person is so dedicated, that guru is so dedicated, he goes on with his life, he goes on with his teaching. And I think when you were mentioning that, Mrs. Saskia, that he was there practicing when there was no one around, I was able to relate to that. That's amazing. I think that is very rare to see that kind of a guru in modern times. So those of us who have been blessed to be in the presence of such gurus and learn from them, I think it is our responsibility now to show that, to take
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
forward.
Very true. Very
Yes,
true.
so both of you are
Yes.
doing a
And music and
fabulous
yoga.
job.
Music
Yes,
and yoga. I mean, that's why music is called Nada Yoga. I
right,
mean,
right.
the yoga of music,
No.
Yes.
of sound, the sound.
Sound. Very
And
nice. Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
yeah. So music. They say it's the highest form of. It's the easiest path to God, spirituality, and
Yes.
whatever else.
Yes.
Because yeah. Uh,
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think that is what one learns when you go really deep into a subject, like whether it's yoga or music, through that kind of one pointedness, one concentrated effort,
Correct.
you get to experience everything and understand the whole world.
Right.
It's and that is so
Humbling.
humbling. Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
If you
Definitely.
really go deep enough, um, that is, yeah, that is the main thing. I want to relate what
Hmm.
Baba Alauddin Khan
Yeah.
said,
Please.
right,
Yeah.
to a group of scientists talking about speed in playing. So he gave amazing parallel, and he said, well, people have gone to the moon. I think it was just about then that
Yeah.
they had just traveled to the moon. So that's amazing. But how deep have they gone within the earth itself? So I think, yeah, it is that um, depth that grounds you a lot. Yeah.
That's true.
Like
That
you
is.
said,
Yes,
and like
please.
you said, to give to now, it's our responsibility to take it to the next generation and generations.
Correct.
So yeah, it's very, very important for music and for children especially, to get that same exposure, to get that same rootedness, to get that, and to have access. And in today's world, that's the I would say positive thing also, that you are sitting in Ohio right now, and we are sitting here in Delhi, and maybe somebody in Australia has tuned in, and
Right.
somebody in Japan or in
Yes.
Hawaii or back here in Delhi. Yet it's one world. We are all living in this one world, and that's the positivity of technology, and using technology uh, to help the whole world.
Correct, correct. And that's a great segue for our next question. Actually, we were going to ask you a little bit more about your foundation. We know you have taken over multiple initiatives like Music for All and Unlock the Music. Would you be willing to share a little bit more about what you are doing there, what you're trying to achieve, how far you're come along? And we also know that you have a wonderfully talented son, Ishan. So we would like you to share a little bit more about him as well with our audience, if you don't mind.
Now we'll start off with perhaps the music education
Sure,
part of it,
sure,
because
please.
it's
Yeah,
something very, very, very deep, and we are very passionate about it. Because, like you said, it's very important to give it to the next generation, and
Yeah.
why only the generations to come. So Saskia has
sure.
authored the first ever Indian music curriculum for young learners. And
Yeah, exactly. I'll just give a little of the context around it. indeed, our little Ishan was a very fast learner, so to speak. By age 2, he could read and knew multiple ragas. So as a mother, you go deep into trying to guide your child the best possible way. And another part from my family background is that there are a lot of Waldorf teachers. This is the Steiner schools, Montessori teaching, music therapy, and music education. I learned a bit in the university as well about that subject. But I saw that way that Ishan responded to music. We really believed that what we did with him musically helped him accelerate in learning, in his intellectual development in a way that was quite remarkable. So, in a way, we also saw that Indian classical music was not taught in a very playful manner to younger children. Because, however amazing and beautiful this Guru Shishya Parampara, it's only accessible to a few people, not the bigger audiences. The reason is the kind of teaching that sometimes happens is not for a young child. It's also not how in music families actually children learn music. It's a playful immersion. Similarly, as you learn a language, you don't sit down your child for an hour to talk to them once in a week. It happens around them all the time. And while playing, while that's the parents' approval, all of that will help the child develop in it. It's through games, it's playful. So both ways of internalizing how children learn in Indian classical music families, and my knowledge of Waldorf, Kodai, and Orff. We put it together, and it's now a program that, I started with 10 girls in the Nizamuddin Basti, and now over 30,000 children are doing this program. We've worked with over 100 young musicians who we give the confidence and the feeling of an identity as a music educator, in which they take a lot of pride. And it is just a very, very joyful process. For parents with young children, we also have started an online school and have a few North America groups as well, where children will learn to relate with Indian music. Before you really send your child to a classical music class, this serves as a 1 year or 2 year, depending on the age and the way the child learns. There's no right or wrong there. How fast they are ready to really learn from an Indian classical guru. But that preparatory trajectory, that is what we do. We have a story about Tara the Sitar.
So Saskia has written all these books, which are beautiful story books too.
Wonderful.
I think it's so important. I mean, one of the beautiful relationships is when, as a parent, somebody is reading to their child when the child is going to sleep, or, surround a child with books and that child is lost for the next few hours. So these are stories that talk about Indian music in the most playful way for a child to understand Saskia has authored all these books. This one is called Vadya, where a child is introduced to all the musical instruments of India. Similarly, the Raga and Tala, which is giving an introduction to 5 ragas and 5 talas, but in a very friendly way. Because, like Saskia said, it's very important to make the child love it. And I think through stories, through easy accessibility. So this is another book called Desi, where they're learning folk music of India. So setting them to success and setting them to love their culture, their tradition. Uh,
Small introductions to simple instruments, simple ragas as well, which they can start playing from age 5 onwards. So we have a lot of games, a lot of fun activities for very young children, also for parents and grandparents
yeah,
to
That's
connect.
great. That's wonderful to hear. I just feel like learning more and more about so many things that you're doing so wonderfully. And we are getting
thank you.
great comments as well from parents whose children are in music education. So quickly, would you like to share about if anybody's interested to get your books, would like to learn from you online, where do they go? Is there a website that they can go to?
Yes, they
Information.
can go to Sangeet for All and write an email to admin@sangeetforall.com. Numeral 4.
Yeah, Sangeet, Sangeet, and then numerical 4, all. I mean, it's
Or
like
yes,
ALL. So
ALL.org, I believe, org.
.com.
Dot
.com.
com. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the
Okay.
website.
All right, viewers, I'm going to put that in the comment box as well. So all of you get that website. And please do visit the website, get more information about the fabulous job that Pandit Rao and Mrs. Rao are doing. And you can get the books, you can go for the training, you can have your children enroll. This is a fabulous resource for all of us. So now, looking at the time, we only have about 10 minutes. I just feel like I want to listen to you and talk to you for a longer time. But this is, I believe, it's a wonderful opportunity for all of us to hear the story. We listen to your music and the people behind this music. You know, we are getting an opportunity to talk to you. So this is really very unique and very rare, and we are
Thank
fortunate
you.
for this.
Thank you for wonderful for asking.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
So I would like to ask a question. You have toured to so many places around the world for your musical concerts with your gurus and by yourselves as well. Is there any one or two tours that are really close to your heart that you felt was the probably the pinnacle of your performance, or however you can reason, but if it's close to your heart?
We always believe the pinnacle is yet to come.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's still, we are in that journey. But,
I think we're really looking forward to tomorrow and going on a flight for the first time in 2 years again for performing. So I think we're very fortunate to have had these opportunities. At the same time, music must go on even in difficult times. So one other initiative I just want to say one or two words about is
Sure.
the Unlock the Music series that we have going on, where we have, since no artists really could travel out of India much, we started in our home at our own center, at our own Gurukul. We started concerts hosting once a month. And the next upcoming one is
we were having one on the 22nd of January, but had to postpone that because of the COVID situation here and the rules. But the next one is on the 26th of February, Saturday night, Indian time, 9 p.m. It's we have this amazing artist, Aruna Sairamji, who is going to perform. So Unlock the Music, I think the name says it all. Because during the pandemic, we were also tired of playing only for cameras and Facebook Live and but an artist needs an audience. So in our home, we started hosting these Baitak concerts, which we also were streaming it online on YouTube, so that people could enjoy. People from any part of the world could enjoy, and the artist also could enjoy performing to a live audience. And that special feeling is what Unlock the Music is about.
That's great. So if anybody's interested to watch that, do they go to your YouTube channel, East Mary's West?
You can go there or to the website unlockthemusic.org.
.org.
So unlockthemusic.org. We'll put that as well on the comments in the comments box for all of you audience members. Thank you so much for sharing more about this. So this is an opportunity for us to stay connected with you both, even
Wonderful.
after this
Thank you.
interview program.
Please do.
Absolutely.
That's great. Thank you so much. So moving on with time on mind. So I would just like to ask a couple more questions to you. So there are parents, as I mentioned, with young children watching, and there are young children watching too today. So if any of them are interested to become a Pandit or a Vidushi at some point, what would you like to share as a message to them? What should they pursue? What should they keep in mind? And maybe the qualities that they have to work for?
Well,
The one mantra that, I think Einstein shared with the world was 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration.
and another great musician said, I have 3 words for you when he was asked about young students, what to do to get where he was musically. Practice, practice, and practice. So it's a simple message that way. At the same time, enjoy your music. Our son is also a musician and plays a lot of music. He enjoys it. I think that is the main important thing, parents. Yes, practice is important and a child needs to practice, but the joy, sing with your child, because to your young child, you sound better than Lata Mangeshkar. We often call music a performing arts. When we talk about families and communities, it's a sharing art. We need to have music together in families, whether it's parents, grandparents. Don't feel shy to sing with your child. When you play recording, your child learns how to play recordings. When you sing with them, they'll learn how to sing.
And one very, very important thing that I personally feel is don't ask the question, when can my son or daughter be on stage? How soon can they be on stage? Because parents expect, some of them, of course, expect that, in 6 months or maximum a year, they should be winning the India Has Got Talent or, those things. Those are all not real at all.
They're not real.
They're not real. Of course, the extremely talented ones are there or part of that also. But in that process, so much gets lost. So it's not about being in a talent show or being on Facebook or, let them love what they are doing.
I have a small activity which you can do tomorrow with your very young children. I call it a sound walk. It's not mine. It's by a great Canadian composer who explained this activity to me, where they can listen, because it starts with listening to your surroundings and hopefully nature. So let your child listen to everything, to the sounds of the birds, to the cars, to anything around them, and get that awareness. When that awareness is there, the music will come.
That's so beautiful. What a beautiful message. What a great way of explaining things. I was just feeling like this is it. This is how we should be learning music and even any other field. That love is what's important, and
Yeah.
not to think about all the awards that we're going to win or what we want to get, what putting our children on stage. I agree that builds confidence. I agree with all other aspects of it, but loving what they're doing is, I think, what will take them a long way. So
Absolutely.
That's a great message. Thank you so much for sharing that. And actually, the music teachers that we see here in America are also with our little children. Our youngest is 3, our oldest is 12, and they are also doing something similar to what you're saying. They ask them in classes to listen to, the homeworks are more like write down all the sounds that you heard at your home in your surroundings, so they
Yeah.
want them to be aware. So that strikes a chord, definitely. So appreciate you sharing those thoughts with us. And also, again, we are coming to the conclusion of our program, but I would like to remind our audience members that we have wonderfully talented Pandit Shubhendra Rao and his charming wife, Vidushi Saskia Rao-de Haas, with us today. And we are talking about their life journey, their great accomplishments. I request you to go to their websites. We have displayed the websites on screen today: unlockthemusic.org, sangeetforall.com, and their YouTube video, East Marries West, to watch videos of their performance, be connected with them, continue your journey of music with them and their organization. That would be wonderful. And also, we were talking about all the different tours that you were. I would like to share a quick memory with you. I believe you were in Kremlin in 1989 with your guru. Is that right,
Yeah,
Pandit?
1988, yes.
88, yeah. So that
Yes.
was the time that we were in Moscow too.
Oh,
Uh,
really? Oh, wow.
yes. So my father was deputed as a first yoga teacher from ICCR to
Oh,
JNC
fabulous.
to JNCC
Fabulous.
Embassy of India, Moscow. And so we were there, and I was in middle school, so I don't remember much, but I'm sure my family remembers the performance.
Yeah, it was.
Yes,
Yeah,
so
it was.
that just remembered that, so I wanted to share with you. So it is great to hear that you've been to so many places, given all these wonderful performances. I would just like to quickly conclude with this question. What difference do you see in the way Indians receive music versus your experience with all these concerts and symphonies, orchestras? You must have seen that difference.
Honestly, for me, at least personally, if I answer it only on my behalf, I'll say music is music, and the way people respond to music, whether it is Indian, Western, classical, or popular music or whatever, music is just music, and people react. Everybody reacts. Like Saskia always has this question when she does her sessions with parents in from some of the schools that we work about how you want to ask that question. That question that I like that. When Saskia, when we ask the question, who in this room is a musician?
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah, you want to go
Yes.
ahead? Uh-huh.
Yeah, you can ask, indeed, when you ask in a big group of people, who in this room is a musician? I think maybe one or two hands will go up because they are professional musicians, it's their profession. Then the second question is, who is musical, who has a good sense of music? Maybe a few more hands go up. Yes, I can sing a nice happy birthday on the in a party, whatever. And then you ask the question, who loves music? And everyone's hand goes up. So we want all people to know that they're born musicians. Everyone is.
So India, rest of the world, anywhere, I think people just love music,
Right.
and I think everybody relates in a different way, just the way we relate to Western classical music in here in India. People in the West, they relate to Indian music. At the end of the day, it's all about music and not about the division, but more about this. Because still, we only have 7 sapta swara, only 7 notes in this world. If we call it sare gama padhani, in the West they call it do re mi fa sol la ti, or in some other part of the world maybe it has a different, but it's all only 7 notes.
That's wonderful. I agree with it that music brings people together, not for dividing, but they're bringing together. So, and as children, babies also, they listen to music, I think, first, more so that's probably one of the ways they learn language, they learn to bond and all that. So that's
Yeah.
great. So wonderful to hear your perspective. So nice that you could share a little bit about your life journey and so many accomplishments. 1 hour is not enough to talk about them all, but we greatly appreciate you taking time off from your busy schedules to come together for our program and talk to us. We will make one attempt to play a video with Ishan in it for our audience members, and then we can conclude our program with this beautiful music. So,
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
our pleasure. That was so beautiful, amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody was able to hear the audio this time. So this, I think that was a perfect way of concluding our program today. So once again, we feel humbled to be with you in your presence today. Thank you so much for taking the time and being on our platform.
Thank
And
you for having us, Vijaya, and lovely to be a part of this Bharat FM. And
Lovely
honestly,
initiative.
yeah, lovely
Yes.
initiative too.
appreciate that. Appreciate your kind words. When I invited Pandit Rao and Vidushi Rao for our program, I had to be honest and mention that we are all volunteering for this program. We apologize, we are not able to pay our guests. And Pandit Rao mentioned it's not about money. So that is what is about the greatness in both of you, that what you're doing is all about love of music. So once again, all the messages that you gave us today, gave our audience members, are very touching. We appreciate you coming over and taking this time, and I know you have to travel tomorrow for Pune, so best wishes for the next musical program.
Thank you
Best
very much.
wishes to Ishan and your family. So we would love to continue being in touch with you and
We will, for
Thank
sure.
you.
on the musical
Same
journey.
here.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
night to you in
Namaste.
India. Good
Good
night.
night.
So, audience members, we hope that you enjoyed our program today and enjoyed listening to our guests of honor. So, please do stay in touch with us. You're welcome to send us a message if you have more guest recommendations. If you would like to do advertisements or sponsorships of our program, we wholeheartedly welcome that. We would like to continue working hard to bring you the best of the best, but we do need your support for that. So please do uh, be in touch with us, contact us, and stay tuned with us. Our next program for our Decoding Victory would be the last Saturday of the next month. So thank you. We will see you then. Please take care, stay healthy. Namaste.
This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
Namaskar, Sat Sri Akal, welcome and adab. You are listening to Bharat FM, a one of its kind, multilingual, eclectic provider of entertainment, information, and news to Indian Americans. Headquartered in Cincinnati, Ohio, Bharat FM airs shows out of Cincinnati, Chicago, and Phoenix. We take pleasure in our ability to cater to your bhakti, chusti, sfurti, shakti, and masti needs with our audio and visual shows. Check out bharatfm.com for our online program schedule and archives. I'm sure the content will definitely tickle your senses. Tune in via the 24-hour web streaming on bharatfm.com or via the Bharat FM app. More information can be procured at 513-488-5070.